The loudest voice in the room isn't always the leader. It's often just the loudest. In real estate, leadership is often confused with extroversion. But what happens when the leader is quiet, observant, and deeply intuitive? Ashley Harwood is building a new model, one where introverts not only succeed, but they thrive. Ashley is the founder of Move Over Extroverts, a top-ranked real estate coach and now a published author. Her message isn't just for introverts, it's for anyone. Anyone who's ever felt out of place in a world that rewards noise over nuance. If we haven't met yet, I'm Linnea Carver, and I help high-achieving leaders create a business without burnout and a life that feels like home. If you've ever wondered whether you're too quiet for your industry, I promise you, this episode is the one that you have been waiting for.
Because when you're delivering a message that is very impactful and comes from your heart, it's so easy. Biggest discovery was that I'm an introvert. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I started my career in real estate not knowing that, and I was burning myself out all the time and couldn't figure out why. Doing all the hustle and grind and training and trying to find clients, and I was just way more exhausted at the end of each day. The best thing that I did was started with the mission. Like, what's the thesis of this book? And then what's the outline that's going to prove the thesis and give people what they need? That's the biggest question to ask, is what do your readers need? Maybe you should be more high energy and more loud and like move around more. The people in that room though, they don't need that because they're getting that in every other room at this conference.
Hey, Ashley, I'm so happy you're here today. For those of you that are watching, listening, I have Ashley Harwood. She is the founder of Move Over Extroverts. And that's actually what drew me to her in the first place, because I am an extrovert. She wants me to move over. So I wanted to talk to her because I think it's interesting in getting to know each other. We have very similar thought processes. And I love that because it just goes to show you can do this business, whether you're an extrovert, an introvert. This business is for everyone. And the best thing about this business is that you can adapt it to your style and make it work for you. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you today. So thanks for being here.
Yay, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Ashley, you're pretty special. I mean, you have been on Inman stage. You have been ranked by Inman as one of the top coaches to watch for. You've also write for Housing Wire.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Tell the people about that.
It's been fun. I don't know. People come to me with opportunities, and it's kind of a lesson in saying yes. The Housing Wire writing opportunity came to me through a form on my website. And at first I thought it was spam.
Okay.
And so I almost ignored it. And then I was like, let me just look up this woman's email and see if it's legit. And it was. And I've been writing for them now for about a year and a half. And
wow.
They have me write on all different topics. And right now I'm refreshing an article on the top Instagram accounts to follow.
Oh, lovely. Okay. So 2 lessons there is saying yes, but also don't think that everything coming through is spam.
Right.
Well, what did the email look like?
It was, so a lot of times my website has a form on it, and a lot of times people fill it out and it's like, hey, I can help you with your social media. Or they're always trying to sell something.
Right.
So I become kind of jaded with that form. So it was very professional and it was a great email, but at first glance, I would just kind of discounted it. So
yeah, I can say I do a lot of the same thing for my form on my website. Everybody's like, I'd love to talk to you. Contact me on WhatsApp. So I just
yeah, that's a scam.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. Bye. So I can see how if something would have come through a form, it's kind of like, is it real or not?
I can always tell if it's an agent because I coach agents, and I can tell if it's an agent because they'll start out with, hey, here's where I found you. Here's where I'm at in my business, blah, 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 versus this one where it's like, hey, I have this opportunity for you. And
fair.
Usually an opportunity is me paying them money, not them paying me money.
Yeah. Funny how that works, right? You want to be on the cover of our magazine? We'd love to feature you for $1,000.
Yeah, nothing.
That being said, you wrote a book called Move Over Extroverts, and you spoke on stage at Inman. So for anyone out there wondering, like, if you're an introvert, how do you speak on stage in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people?
Well, I've been speaking on stages of different sizes for many years. So that was a great opportunity and such a fun experience to be on the live stage. That was so cool. And the best advice I have is writing your own content, because when you're delivering a message that is very impactful and comes from your heart, it's so easy.
Yeah.
So for me, it comes naturally when I'm talking about things that I really believe in and really care about, and that comes across, versus if I've taught other people's classes before, other training courses, and I get a little tripped up because I want to make sure I'm doing it right and doing it like following all the material versus just speaking from the heart.
Yeah. So are there certain things that you like to talk about more than
Yeah, I
others?
have a few key topics. The most common one, the most commonly requested one is my talk on introversion in real estate and how somebody can make that work and not have to change who they are. That's kind of my core message.
How does an introvert make it work in real estate?
Lots of reasons, lots of ways. But at its core, it's finding what works for you in terms of lead generation strategies,
Okay.
knowing that it might not look like everyone else's, and that's okay as long as it's consistent. It has to be consistent.
So
And
regardless
also
of,
not packing the calendar too full.
yeah. So regardless of whether or not you're an introvert or an extrovert, you still have to be consistent.
Yes.
Funny. Yeah.
Okay.
And then not packing the
Okay.
calendar too full, you said.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not packing it too full. That's more of an introvert thing, I believe, because we expend a lot of energy over the course of a day talking to people, and we need to build up our resources back up, and that really only happens alone. So carving out and protecting that alone time is really, really key.
Have you done a lot of like research, personality research, human psychology research into introversion? I assume the answer is yes.
I have.
What does that look like for you, and what are some of the big kind of discoveries that you've made?
The biggest discovery was that I'm an introvert. I didn't know that. I
Okay.
started my career in real estate not knowing that, and I was burning myself out all the time and couldn't figure out why.
What did burnout feel like for you? Like paint the picture for me. What does that look like?
I was doing all the hustle and grind and training and trying to find clients, and I was just way more exhausted at the end of each day than I felt I should be, and I was like, why is this way harder for me than everyone else? And what am I doing wrong? And then I thought maybe I'm not cut out for this. And thankfully I had a really strong support system and a great office and colleagues that kept me going through all of that. But I wasn't managing my energy. So I was spending more than I had every day and not recharging. So I was just kind of running on fumes.
Yeah. One of the things that you said when we spoke, when we first met, was you discovered that your lead generation really comes from relationships. So, do you have any specific types of, is there a type of relationship? Is it, do you like to connect with people in a certain type of way? Like, what's that look like?
I really go all in on my intuition and my gut. And I like to start with a large pool. So, for instance, I'll go to a Chamber of Commerce event or some other networking event where there's a lot of people. And I'll see who I'm drawn to and who I connect with. And everyone knows it's easier to talk to some people than others. You just naturally are going to get along better with certain people. So I focus on those people and I say, okay, out of this 100 people in this room, I'm going to really focus on connecting with these small handful and then hardcore follow up with them. Send a handwritten note, nice to meet you, invite them for coffee, and just build the relationship that way. Fewer people, but deeper quality.
I like that. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with lead generation advice, kind of in general. It's just kind of the advice that I give to my clients is like, don't try to do all of it. Like for you, going into a networking event or a Chamber of Commerce event, there's, I don't know, 20, 30 people there, maybe sometimes more. And instead of connecting with all, you're like, I'm just going to find the few that actually work. And I'm going all in on those people.
Right.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
I like it. So what inspired you? Because you are a practicing real estate agent. You are in production. So how much of your business is production? How much of your business is coaching? And kind of what inspired you to get into the coaching side of the business?
I've done a lot of like back and forth here and there. I was a full-time coach for about 2 years.
Okay.
And I was on staff with a brokerage. So it was some coaching and then it morphed into a lot of recruiting,
Okay.
which I didn't love it as much. So as it stands now, my business is, I spend about half of my time on the coaching and training side and half of my time on the real estate side. And it's a good balance for now, but it affords me the luxury of being more particular with my coaching clients and my real estate clients and working with people I really like.
Mm-hmm. I will say that's probably the same for me too. Because I'm the same way. I'm like, my real estate business is probably 10 hours a week right now. And my coaching business is the most of it. But like you, it affords me the ability to say no more than yes. Because I know this for you is your year of yes. This for me is kind of my year of no. I'm like, no, no. Got to find the things that make you joy. You got to find those things that bring you joy. So,
Absolutely.
who's your ideal client?
For real estate or for coaching?
Both.
In general, I like to work with people who are good communicators and people who I just enjoy working with, who have the same kind of energy level. I'm not that picky. I mean, if someone is way high energy, I'm not going to not work with them. But in general, that's kind of who I find myself being more attracted to.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
in my clientele. And yeah, I mean, the past 2 days, I've had 2 different listing appointments. Could not be more different personality wise.
Right.
Like night and day. It's so funny.
You're like, huh, how did that happen? Interesting. So on the disc, do you know what your disc profile is?
Yes, I do. It's a very high C and very high D, and both of them are like neck and neck in the 90s. It's very interesting
Huh.
because it didn't used to be that way. I used to have almost no D, and then it shot up after some big life changes.
Well, I also wonder if maybe like once you started learning more about yourself, that D starts to come out because the D is about making the decisions, right? That's how you start to make decisions because you know more about yourself. I
I
wonder.
also have found that I've become less patient as I've gotten older.
Ah, that's funny. I've become more patient. Do you know anything else about your Enneagram, your Myers-Briggs, anything like that?
I've taken all the tests. I don't know the other ones super well. I know the disc very well because I
Yeah.
teach on that. And
Yeah. You can probably figure out mine. I'm a very high DI. My D is somewhere in the 80s, hovers around between the 80 and 90. My I, just depending on what I'm doing, is somewhere between like 75 and 85. I have a C in the 60s.
nice.
Hmm. And my S is like non-existent. I'm a very impulsive person, basically, is what it's saying.
My eye is almost non-existent.
That's funny. Isn't that funny how we all have like the one thing that's like not there? Your coaching clients, where do they fall on the disc normally?
They are all over the place. I mean, they're all in real estate, so they all have some level of D,
Uh-huh.
but I think a lot of them are more S's.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm kind of curious, like, where do you find yourself, like, in the coaching space? Where do you find yourself? I mean, I get in the real estate space, you want to build relationships with people, going to commerce events, things like that. But what about in the coaching space? Where do you find yourself finding clients to work from? Is it all attraction based at this point?
For the most part, yeah. A lot of people find me randomly by Googling. If you were to Google real estate coach for introverts, I'm your girl.
I
I'm what's
love it.
coming. So I've had several clients who I had never interacted with before. They weren't part of my Facebook group. They hadn't come to any of my trainings. They just popped up and hired me for one-on-one coaching, and it's happened multiple times. So I love when that happens because it's like out of the blue somebody finds me because they need it. They're searching for it.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites. And then I also love when I have people in my community who I've known for years and they're like, okay, I'm raising my hand. I'm finally ready. Let's do a business plan or something, you know.
I love that. What do you help your clients with most? Like, what's your most favorite thing to help them with? And like your biggest success story from that?
Business planning.
Okay.
That's my favorite. My most recent, one of my favorite success stories is somebody randomly called me. I don't know how she found my phone number, but she called me and out of the blue, never heard of her before. She was a brand new agent and her company was not helping her like at all. And so we created a business plan. We sat down on Zoom for 2 hours. We're on opposite coasts. We found a time that worked, sat down for 2 hours on Zoom and banged out this beautiful plan that was completely custom to her lifestyle, her budget, her time constraints, everything. And she was just so excited and so happy at the end of that call that that's one of my favorite things to do.
I love that. How does your coaching work? If someone were to say after they watch this and they're like, "Oh, man, I need to talk to Ashley," what should they expect from like your offers? What do you have? Group coaching, one-on-one, hybrid? What's that look like?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I have 3 options. One is group coaching that meets weekly. One is a straight up business plan, which is a 2 hour session plus one follow up after. And then it's like, okay, here you're off to the races. Let me know if you need additional support.
Love
And
that.
then the third option is a 3 month program where it's a one on one weekly call for an hour. And it is just whatever you need. And usually there ends up being business planning in that because that's what people need.
Yeah.
So,
It's true. How many agents have ever come to you with a full business plan?
0.
Yeah. It's about the same. One of the things that I do when people work with me is the very first thing I do is I have them do a time audit, a time and energy audit. So
Yeah.
like you talk about doing the things, the activities that feel good for you, right? I do the same thing on the sense of I don't want you to do anything that you shouldn't do. And so we'll break it down into like a 4-box grid. We have like the left column. I mean, I'm sure you know the 4-box grid, right? You want everything high value, high leverage is the only thing that we really want to aim toward having them do. And then they do like a full business audit. Whereas, they take that. So that'd be cool if someone took a business audit and was like, okay, and then came to you and said, help me put this into a plan.
Absolutely.
That would be cool. That'd be like, here we go. We got the business audit. I figured out what's missing from my business. Now, how do we make this work? So tell me, I want to know more about your writing a book. Because I know that I am not the only one who's watching you being like, oh, she wrote a book. I want to do the same thing. I know there's so many other people watching this who are going to watch this who want to know about your writing a book. What made you do it? And like, just paint the picture for us. I'm a brand new book writer. What should I expect?
So I had been thinking about this book for about 7 years, and I finally realized it was the right time in January 2024. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this right. I started asking everyone I knew who had written books about their experience. So I did my research. I came to find out that my niche is too small. Real estate's a niche. Introverts are a niche. I'm doing both. Tiny, tiny niche. Big enough to have an impact, not big enough to attract a traditional publisher. So
Okay.
my options were self or hybrid. And I found a hybrid publisher that is a startup. So far they've been good. I haven't gotten my first paycheck yet, though, my first royalty check. So we'll see if like that all plays out. But they had me sign a contract and they said, you have 1 year to write your first draft to be edited. So I did that, and I had a deadline. So it took a year, but it probably would have taken longer, to be
Yeah.
honest. So
Yeah, I bet like that deadline. It's just like goals, right? It has to be a SMART goal. It's got to be time
it
bound.
has to have a deadline. Yes.
Yeah. And how long did it take you? You had 1 year. Did you get it done the very last day?
Yep.
I love it.
I mean, I got it done a little bit before then because I wanted to do my own run through of editing before it went to the copy editor.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the initial draft done a little bit before then, but yeah, I came right up to that deadline.
Dean Graciosi says if you have a year, like to lose 5 pounds, you're going to lose 5 pounds on day 360. You're going to, for 5 days, you're not going to eat. You're going to do whatever you can to lose the 5 pounds. Whereas if you have 30 days to lose 5 pounds, your actions are totally going to change. So do you think that if your deadline had been shorter, like a 6-month deadline, that you would have changed the way that you wrote the book, or it would have changed the outcome of the book?
I don't think so. I do think I would have needed an extension because
Love that.
this was not my full-time gig. I was still doing all my other things and doing this on top of it. So it ended up looking like 2 or 3 hour chunks most weekends.
Nice. Nice. That's really inspiring though, because I mean, a lot of people think about writing a book as like this big daunting event, and I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was daunting, but instead of you just being like, okay, well, I'll write it someday, you just kind of took action and you said, okay, I need this to be done. These are the things I need to have it done. I'm going to find someone who's going to do it for me. And then they kind of pushed you to make that happen.
Right. So it started with that decision, like you said, and then what are the actions I need to take? The best thing that I did was started with the mission. Like, what's the thesis of this book? And then what's the outline that's going to prove the thesis and give people what they need? That's the biggest question to ask, is what do your readers need?
Okay.
And how can you get that to them?
What do your readers need? Like why did you write the book?
I wrote it for all my fellow introverts. Everyone out there, I've talked to so many people over the years who question whether they have what it takes to be successful in real estate, and they have this doubt, and it makes me so sad, because some of the top agents in the country are introverts, and we just don't really hear about it. So there's this disconnect between what my agents are capable of and what they think they're capable of, which is a lot lower. So it's very much a motivation combined with very practical, okay, what does it look like? And not just how do you get clients, but how do you work with clients? We have a chapter on showings, a chapter on open houses. Like, how do you do the business while still protecting your energy?
Wow. If you're ready to design a business that fits your energy and not someone else's checklist, I want you to start with the burnout proof time audit. It's free, it's powerful, and it is going to show you exactly where your time is going versus where it should be going. Get it at the link in the description right there. So it's kind of like a how-to guide, if you will.
Yeah.
I love that. So is that good? Like, do you think it would be great, like if someone were to get into the business, like as a team leader, if I have a new agent on my team who's trying to figure out, is that a good gift for a new agent?
Yes, it's a great gift for a new agent. And invite them to book club too. We do a free book club every Thursday on Zoom, and we go through a chapter of the book.
Oh, that's cool. So people can sign up to be a part of your book club too.
Yeah, and they can chat with the author about it and ask questions.
I love that. That's so cool. Not only did you write the book, but now you're like, okay, let's actually put this into action. Let's actually make it work. Right. And then I'm going to help you make my book work.
Exactly.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah. So the more I learn about you, the more I'm like, oh, you're so inspiring. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I want to share one other thing for any aspiring authors, though.
Yeah.
There's a podcast that I discovered right after my book came out, and I wish I had listened to it sooner. It's called Don't Write That Book, and that's the name of the podcast. Do you know Profit First, Mike Michalowicz?
Love that book. My whole business model is based off of that book. Yes, love that book.
So he and his former ghostwriter and now co-writer, AJ Harper, it's their podcast, and they do it together, and they tell you everything about being an author. It's fabulous.
I just wrote that down. Don't write that book. I'm going to write them on podcast because I'll want to look up a book. I love that. It's actually really interesting. I was with a friend the other day, and we were just in a town doing, town stuff. We went and visited this other small town, and we walked into a wine tasting room, and it was the owner was there. It's the thing I love about small towns. The wine tasting room is always the owner, Yeah. And she's like, she's like, oh, I'm a published author. I'm like, cool. How many? She's like, I've written 8 novels. I was like, oh my gosh. And so she had all of her books right there. And I had like looked at the books before I walked up to the counter, and I was like, oh, this looks like an interesting book. And lo and behold, she wrote them. And, we just started talking about, she was actually reading Remarkably Bright Creatures. Like, do you like to read a lot?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I read a lot of fiction, a lot of nonfiction. I just read anything. I will read anything. Because I think you can learn something from everything that you read. So she was reading Remarkably Bright Creatures. It's a tongue twister. I don't know why. Have you read that?
No.
Okay. So here's the thing that I love about that book, and this is part of the reason I promote reading fiction a lot, is because, first of all, I want to get into someone's imagination. I want to actually see what someone else imagined. I think there's so much to learn from getting to someone else's imagination. This book is written basically from the perspective of an octopus.
Oh.
And did you know that octopuses are very, very smart creatures?
I did. I've actually met people who won't eat octopus for that reason.
I think after this book, I might not, because they're super smart creatures, and like they're escape artists. I didn't know all of these things about octopuses until I read this book, and the octopus is talking, and I'm like, is that true? And then of course I go look it up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so true. So I learned, I'm kind of fascinated now with octopuses.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason I told you that was because we were talking about authors, and then, I was like, I just want to know kind of what was in her mind. Like when she wrote this book, did she have a relationship with an octopus? Why did this book come to fruition? Long story short, she wrote all of her books, and they're based off of the fact that she's biracial. And so she kind of like tells the story of growing up biracially. And so at the end, she actually said, Linnea, I think you need to write a book. All just from like conversation. I had not told her anything about wanting to write a book. And she's like, I will start a book writing workshop if you will come.
Aw.
And I was like, okay, I guess I'm writing a book. So I guess I'm writing a book.
Exciting.
I don't know. She's like, you want fiction or nonfiction? I said, honestly, probably nonfiction, because my creative imagination is not quite there right now. But I'm pretty sure I can come up with a lot of nonfiction stuff. So anyway.
I have a fiction book in my brain that I haven't started yet. And I'm so antsy for the time when I have like the time and mental space to commit to it.
Yeah.
It's not this year. It's probably not next year, but
what is it?
It is, I'm not going to give away everything,
No.
but it's a combination of like, the show How to Get Away with Murder?
Yeah. I love that show. So good.
So it's kind of like that.
Okay.
Sort of.
Okay, so let's talk about creating a business that feels like you, because you've said that a couple of times, and I know that you talk about that a lot. So what does that mean? How do you help someone design a business around their values versus like the industry norm?
It's a lot of questions. It's a lot of coaching / mild interrogation to like get to the root of, well, because people don't always know, and they're not always able to verbalize it on the first pass.
Yeah.
And that's why having somebody to bounce ideas off of is helpful. But it's basically just getting to the core of what's going to be the thing that somebody can stick with the most consistently the longest, and not hate their lives.
Okay.
What is that thing?
Do you give them like a timeline? Like, for example, do you say if you're going to try for lead generation, for example, and you're going to try doing networking events, like something you like to do you give them like a timeline to say, I need you to try this for X amount of time before you decide it's not working?
Yeah. I mean, in general, something like networking events, that can be, the consistency has to be there. First of all, it has to be like going to something once a week or once every 2 weeks. It can't be once every 6 months and hope that you find a client. It has to be like showing up. But it does take time. So something like that could take even 6 months to see a kernel of a start of a result. But how you can gauge it is not just close business. You can gauge it by, am I getting traction through building relationships with people who would refer me or would use me? If you have people like that, that's a win, and that's traction.
Yeah.
And then the game is just staying in touch with them enough.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually had such a similar conversation yesterday with some of my students, clients, agents, whatever.
Kids.
People. Kids. Sometimes. I don't mean that anyone that's watching this, you're not, you know what I mean? But like actually had the same conversation yesterday, because one of them, like I always ask people to start out with wins, as I'm sure you probably do the same thing. Let's celebrate success. And it's so funny because they always want to celebrate the closing. They always want to celebrate the closing. And I'm like, but what happens when you don't have a closing? Are you not celebrating anything?
No, they're not celebrating anything. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
We should be celebrating something every day, even if it's small.
Agreed. So yesterday, one of my clients, she was like, well, I'm not celebrating it yet because I don't have a signed contract. And I'm like, but where did you meet her? Oh, she was a Zillow lead. So you converted somebody probably 3 times. She's like, no, I haven't converted them yet. And I'm like, No, you have. No, you literally have. It's a Zillow lead. How many people get Zillow leads, and how many people are calling that Zillow lead? She answered the phone, or they, whoever it is, answered the phone for you. And then after they answered the phone, they said, okay, let's have a meeting. Like, that's 2 conversions. And it was just kind of interesting to see that psychology across the board.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
A win is not just a closing. It's all the steps in between. And if we, not you and me, we know how to do this, but if agents, especially new agents, if they don't know how, if they're not building that habit of celebrating the steps along the way, then it's just days or weeks or months with no wins. And that feels really, really crappy.
Yes, it does.
Like, it's not a good way to build momentum.
No, and most agents are selling right now in this market. Most agents are selling one home every 6 months right now. I think it's like 90% of agents have maybe sold 1 home this year. And so maybe. Maybe. And so if you're literally only celebrating the closing, that's so like I can see why people might think this business isn't for them. And that's where you come in to be like, no, maybe it's not the industry. It's just maybe how you're going about the business.
Yeah, and everything takes time. There's no magic bullet lead gen system. Even buying leads from like Zillow, that still takes a lot of work and time to master how to have those conversations. So none of it's easy, and none of it comes immediately unless you're like married to a builder and he's going to give you subdivision like that. I've seen that happen. And then they're like, oh, I had 20 closings my first year. I'm like, that's great. That's not the norm. Right. That's not what everyone else can expect. You had special circumstances. Right. And that's fabulous. So it's like,
Right. And so I bet a lot of what you I guess I'm assuming teach is the comparison thing. Do you talk a lot about the comparison thing?
All day long.
What do you notice?
It's so hard.
Yeah. What do you notice some of the things that your people are seeing, your clients are like running into when it comes to the comparison game?
The ones who are not having the success that they want right now are comparing themselves to everybody, every win, and not seeing all the work that went in, or how the circumstances might be different, or, all these different factors. And a lot of it we don't see, we're not aware of. I also see a lot of newer agents comparing their results to more experienced agents, which is just not going to end well ever, because it's not a fair comparison. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself.
100%.
And even then, like, comparing yourself to other people is a complete waste of time and energy.
100%. Well, and that goes back to celebrating wins.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're only comparing yourself to the wins that you had last time you sold a house, you don't feel like you're doing anything different.
Right. And the market's different. A lot of people got into this business when deals were falling from the sky. Like, that's a totally different ballgame than what we're in now.
100%.
So,
100%.
So I have my favorite tip for celebrating wins. I started doing this in 2021. I did it for a year and then I stopped. And this year I'm doing it again. Every morning I write on a sticky note at least one good thing that happened the day before. And then I fold it up and put it in a drawer. And at the end of the year, I go and review it all. But it's a nice way to start the day by thinking of something that went well yesterday, even if it was just I went to yoga or I ate a good salad or something. It doesn't have to be a closing.
It doesn't have to be a closing. It's okay. It's okay. Right. I like to celebrate little things like if I sleep well, because the reality is at my age, I'm 46 now, and sleep just is not, it's very different than it used to be when I was in my 30s. And so I like to celebrate sleep. That's what I celebrate.
That's a good one.
A great sleep. Because I know if I sleep better, I'm going to perform better. So yeah, but I really like that tip of, I might try that actually, doing like a celebration jar. Like a gratitude jar. I hear people talk about that a lot. But yours is like a celebration jar.
It crosses over into gratitude, but it's both. It's both.
Yeah. It's like, I was just going to say that. It's like the same thing though. Celebration and gratitude go hand in hand. So, yeah. So talk to me a little bit more about like introverted leaders. Mm-hmm. So I think you've said something before. I don't know if it was in our conversation that we had, but like something about quiet leadership. I think you said something about that along the path. So I'd like to know, like, what is your, how do you define like leadership as an introvert, and why does the world need more of it?
I would define it as like any type of leadership, really. It's someone who's inspiring others to do good, and someone who other people feel drawn to enough to follow. And that's going to look very different for different people. I'm not going to be the right leader for a good chunk of the population. I'm just not. I'm too, what's the word I want? I'm too calm. But for this chunk of people, that's what they want. That's what they need. So a good example, and I share this story, actually, my partner shares this story in my book. I had him write the foreword.
Okay.
From his perspective, being an extrovert.
Okay.
And him learning about all of this through me. And he shares the story of seeing me speak at a conference and giving me loving feedback, saying I need to be more. He was like, babe, that was great. Maybe you should be more high energy and more loud and like move around more during your talk. And I said, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. The people in that room, though, they don't need that because they're getting that in every other room at this conference. They're getting the person jumping around on the stage and has the music blaring. That's every other session here. So they don't need more of that. They're getting enough. And what they need is something that's different and fills their needs in a different way.
I love that. It's like, that is really being true. That's really being authentic to you and knowing what your audience, I would say that's really being able to connect and know exactly what your exact client persona audience needs.
I agree. And I feel like it's an example of quiet leadership too, because it is sticking up for those people and saying, no, this is what they need.
Right. And he didn't know any better. He's just like,
of course, no.
He's an extrovert. Yeah, because he's an extrovert. And so my husband,
and that's what his people need.
Yeah, and you know what's actually really interesting is my husband is more on the introverted side. And so when I first started doing video, that was kind of he gave me feedback on video, and a lot of the feedback he gave me was less motion, less movement, less, just be a little bit less, not less than you are, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to say anything bad, honey. I love you. But it was also kind of the interesting sort of thing where it's just like, that didn't really feel like me. For me to just sit there and be like calm and low energy. And like, yes, I even need that sometimes as a viewer, right? As an audience, I need that. But for me to give that, it didn't really feel very natural for me. So yeah, I can understand that. That's cool. And also love that he gave you that feedback too.
Me too. I was so happy that he did. And we have great communication anyway. And that was actually at the very beginning of our relationship. So
oh, lovely. I love that.
It was really nice. It was a nice kind of introduction to how we're gonna communicate.
Yeah. I think it's important, like, our partners give us that feedback, because that's the one that we have to come home to every day, or we don't have to, we choose to come home every day to that person. And so I think it's really important when we can be comfortable enough to receive feedback from them, and when they're comfortable enough to give that feedback.
Yeah. And it's nice because he's also in the industry. He's a leader. He's an author. He's an agent. So I trust his opinion. He does a lot of speaking and training as well. But
that's awesome.
We're polar opposites in our style. And it's really funny because a lot of times we teach classes in the same office to the same people.
Are you guys are you business partners at all in the real estate business?
Not officially. Yeah. No. I'm a solo agent. He has his team that he's had for years.
Got it. Yeah. Well, maybe one day. You never know.
We'll see. I don't know. It works well for now, but never say never.
Yeah, just never know. This is your year of yes, so it might come up. You never know. So tell me where people can find you, like, or join your community of introverts.
Introverts, yeah. So my website is moveoverextroverts.com. Everything's on there, coaching stuff, the book club's on there. And then I do have a Facebook group that is just for agents, and it's called Introverts in Real Estate.
Oh, easy. Introverts in Real Estate. I love it. It's very searchable. Love that. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else, any final word or like piece of advice you'd want to leave for anybody who might be watching this?
Yes, there is. Most people are somewhere in the center of the introvert extrovert spectrum.
Mhm.
And it's okay and normal to be a combination. And don't get too hung up on the label.
Mm.
When I talk about this, sometimes people go off the rails. They're like, I don't know what I am. It doesn't entirely matter. What matters is that you're paying attention to your own energy, your own needs, and how you like to conduct business. So focus on those things more than the label.
That's great advice. And actually, it's also very interesting because as we're sitting here, I'm like, yeah, I know all of my personality profiles. My Enneagram actually says I'm an introvert.
Okay.
My Myers-Briggs and everything else says I'm an extrovert. So, and they're all very accurate. And then when I put them all together to come up with a full comprehensive personality analysis, it's the most accurate thing I've ever found out. But it was just interesting when my Enneagram told me that I'm an introvert.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's because the Enneagram goes based off of what drives you, like the driving force, which is very inside versus external. So I think that's probably
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very complicated.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want people to get too stuck on the label. The label just makes it easier to talk about.
Yeah, I love it, and it's true, and it also does help people see you, right? The label helps people see you, but it's like you said, you don't only work with introverts.
Of course, no. I work with lots of people.
Right. Love that. Awesome. Ashley, thank you so much for being here on this call. Anyone who wants to reach out, please reach out to Ashley. She's awesome. I've had a few conversations with her now, and every single one, I'm like, I want to talk to you more. So I promise you will want the same thing. Ashley, I know your time is super valuable, and I appreciate you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for reminding us that power doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers, and that whisper can change everything. If you're watching this and you've ever felt like you had to change who you are to succeed, don't. The only thing you need to change is your strategy. So here's your question for today. What part of your business would feel radically different if it was built around your energy instead of your expectations? Remember, you don't have to burn out to be successful. You deserve to live a burnout-proof life with a business that supports it. I'll see you on the next episode.